Mikee P back on the Into Money Players podcast, and I've been trying to track this guy down for a little while here. Michael Domabyl in the house, coming off stellar performance in the KDBC. Michael, what's up? I asked you off air, did you spend all that money yet?
No, haven't delved into that yet. I'm saving it up so I can make sure I can play whatever tournament I want from now to the end of the year, and still have a positive ROI for the year. So it was pretty exciting to cash for that much. Would have loved to win the whole thing, but fourth place is a pretty nice consolation prize for the KDBC.
Yeah, fourth place and huge double finishing in the Derby with Golden Tempo to get you that 48,000+ I think dollar score plus prize money. So definitely a nice KDBC for you. He certainly took his time to get there. What were you thinking during the race?
Well, it was kind of interesting because I had two entries in the contest, and one entry was all in doubles with Denon Bourbon. And so I was live to 96,000 if Denon Bourbon would have won. And I thought that was going to be enough to win the contest. Funnily enough, I checked everybody's plays, and it appeared that somebody else had 8,800 to win on Denon Bourbon. So even if he would have won, I would have come in second in the contest. But it would have been a nice boost if he would have got home. So I was watching him all race. And he opened up at the top of the stretch, and I'm cheering him on. And then I start to get sad because I see he's tailing off a little bit. But I had my backup plan was Golden Tempo, and about 3 strides before the wire, I picked him up as the one who was going to win. And it was just like a roller coaster of emotions, but it was exciting to have the backup plan come to fruition and still cash a nice check.
Yeah, amazing score there. And of course, you're a frequent tournament player, and you've done very well in the past. So nice to see your name on leaderboards. And I wanted to get you in. I was trying to get you for Keeneland. I was trying to get you for some of these races in the spring leading up to the Derby. But we're going to get you for Preakness Friday, and it's at Laurel this year. Certainly, you're no stranger to these Mid-Atlantic tracks. You do a lot of work for us for Colonial. So Laurel, definitely on your radar. We're going to look late pick. Well, stakes pick 5, starting with race number 9 for Friday, Michael. And these races at Laurel this weekend have produced, I do think, some great fields, some nice sequences, and they have the 12% takeout pick 5. So definitely on our radar.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is a good sequence as well. There's a bunch of different pick 5s that are out there. They're all 12% takeout. There's some that are joining races from Friday with races from Saturday. So you can maybe parlay some of the opinions that we have here with some your Preakness opinions and try to link up a nice pick 5 score.
Well, let's look at this pick 5, and it starts race number 9 on Friday at Laurel, and it's 3:54 Eastern time on the grass with straight 3-year-olds here going a mile. You have the return of Ultimate Love. Somehow she ended up the favorites in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Now, that race sort of, kind of took some twists and turns. There were some scratches. Ultimately, she was 3.5 to 1 as the favorite in there. She ran her race. She got an 80 figure. That's what she had used to being, to getting in the fall of last year. Just wasn't quite good enough. Now she's 4 to 5 coming back in this spot. Do you like her, or are you going to use somebody else?
Yeah, that's a good point I completely forgot that she went off favored in that race. I guess that no one really knew where to go after Precise got scratched. And so initially I was thinking it was got to be one of the top 3, or the 3 inside horses. And so I ultimately landed on Coach Missoula, thinking that hopefully this race can go better for her than it did with the playoffs for the Celtics. And then, there's some talent there. She blitzed that field last time out. I think she can get a good cushy trip stalking the pace. And then the name says it all in the number 1, Use Me. I will have to do that as well. Was able to close down that field last time, a nice closing kick. And so she was backed well and had enough to get it done on debut, and I couldn't pass up including her somewhere. So I would be pretty surprised if anybody outside of the inside 3 horses win, but I'll put Coach Missoula on top, hoping to get a price and a soft trip.
Yeah, and I understand that one for sure. And Ultimate Love's a little tricky, right? Because I mean, I'm sure that there are some bigger spots that they're looking towards, especially in the summertime. This is a nice spot to return in. She's 2 for 2 over the course, 2 blowout wins too, so hard to look past her. But I like Use Me also. I do think that one. It's Brendan Walsh. Probably could have won first time out, and she certainly was a nice winner second time out while favorite at Keeneland there. And this is the next logical step up into a listed type stake. I do think that she plays well. I probably would just be 1-2. I understand the 3, and there's a horse, the horse that raced second there in that race on April 18th. That one's coming back on Saturday early. So if she gets it done here, that one may be one to look into. The early pick 5 for Saturday. That one is in, I think, the second or third race. I'd have to look at that, but we'll see what happens. That could be a live race, and she looks competitive also. I'd be curious to see what kind of trip. She might get the jump on the other two. She definitely has a pace edge.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Just probably try to survive this race and hopefully get the biggest price home. Probably play some win bets on Coach Missoula. Hope to move on.
Race 10 on Friday, and we have another listed stake. Now, this is 3s and ups for the fillies going a mile and 1/8 here, Michael. And you have the return of Margie's Intention. Now, this one won the Black Eyed Susan last year at Pimlico. That was a very sloppy track that day from off the pace. She hasn't won since, but she is even money in the program. You get IRAD now. She tried a state-bred stake race at the fairgrounds. She probably looks to be favored in here, but are you gonna, lean on this one, or can you maybe find somebody else to upset?
Yeah, this is a common theme for me in this pick 5 sequence is the heavy favorites. That I think there's probably a good chance one or more are going to win, but I just on each individually I don't really like too much. Margie's Intention might be too good for these, but that last race losing at 1-2 really put me off on her. And you have to swallow a very short price again, coming right back. Queen Azteca, the number 6, is probably the logical alternative, but I kind of feel like last time was the time for her off a soft trip when her main rival didn't fire. And I actually think she'll be a clear second choice behind Margie's Intention, versus the 5-1 she's listed on the morning line. The number 7, Waveless, is one I wouldn't discount either. I want to have on ticket. She might just be getting good now as a 4-year-old. Gun runners seem to get better as they get older. She was proved she was able to stalk the pace last time, but I do think this is a bit of a class test. So the more I looked at this race, the more I warmed up to the number 4, Complexity Jane. I know she disappointed as the favorite last time, actually the last 2 times, but she's won 5 times over the Laurel surface, including over the distance back in December, which might have been her best race. I think she can sit second or third, get the jump on the favorite in particular. And kind of, I'm thinking one of the things I like to do is I like to jump on the bandwagon for horses when a lot of people have jumped off. And Complexity Jane was, 6-5 and 4-5 in her last 2, and she's probably going to be all of 6-1 in this spot. So I'll hop on the bandwagon when everyone's jumping off and see if we can get a price on her.
Now, one thing with her, she doesn't have Lasix issues, right? I mean, she's not one that has to come off Lasix. She's raced plenty of times without Lasix and raced very well, and she's probably going to run her race. She certainly likes the track. So she's a good look. Some of the other ones, they have some bigger numbers, but they have produced them on Lasix. So there's something to be said for that, and something I do consider also. Horses like the 6, the 7, all have that question to answer. So that's something to consider. I didn't mind the 6 Queen Azteca. I just think that she, it's going to be interesting to see what the trip is for Complexity Jane with this one in the race, because I do think that they probably both want to be right in the same spot, up close, and who knows? I mean, maybe they could sort of burn each other out. I think it's interesting. Pratt gets on here too. He tends to find the right spot for horses all the time, and depending on how the race is going to shape. So I do think that's an upgrade for me. I would use the 2, but I agree with you. Not necessarily a slam dunk in here. It's probably going to be over bet. Again, this one's used to these graded lines, and this is a listed stake. So maybe they're just trying to get the confidence back. We'll see what happens. Definitely a tricky read, though, I think, in the pick 5 here for Friday.
Yep.
Race 11, the very one stakes. Everybody loves to say that when this race comes around every year. Back to the grass here, 5.5 furlongs, and very wide open race for me in this spot. Saturday Flirt 6-5 morning line, but I'm not sure that this one's 6-5 on paper. Wesley Ward always does take plenty of action, but coming off that last race, I'm not quite so sure. Maybe she does need this little drop in class, a confidence boost. She was very good at Kentucky Downs and at Keeneland last year on the grass, so she certainly has class. But I'm going to try the 8, Sana. I think that one, the 2 sprints, really, I know they were at Gulfstream, but they are fantastic. 2 big blowout wins. One was at 1-9, and I know one was a 2 Life, one was a 1X. This is a step up, but this is a logical step up for this one, and I do think if she can produce those same efforts that she plays very well. We'll see what Saturday Flirt is. Maybe she can turn back into herself and she'll run me over here. But I'm going to try the 8. What say you?
Yeah, I mean this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Another favorite who I'm happy to take on, but certainly can win. If I was playing this pick 5, what I would probably do is have all of the favorites in the first 3 legs as kind of the C on an ABC method ticket, because if one of them wins and I've got my other opinions right, then I still want to be able to hit this pick 5. But if 2 of them win, I probably was just wrong about this pick 5, and it's not. And if 2 of them win, it's not going to pay that much anyway. So I would relegate Saturday Flirt to a C, just because I didn't really see that much in the Giants Causeway last time to think that she deserves to be such a short price. I know this is a drop down in class, but I actually thought the number 3. Lost and Found was the way to go here. First start for Brittany Russell, another one with a versatile running style. She won on the lead last time. She won from off the pace 2 back. Has won on turf before, even though the last 2 were on the synthetic. Training well at Fair Hill after switching over to the Russell barn. And I think she'll get the jump on the favorite as well. Should be positioned a little bit closer than Saturday Flirt is. And then I don't mind Sana either, especially if you're trying to beat the favorite. Spreading isn't as bad as it could be in other spots when you're including the favorite. And if there's one other long shot I would throw in, it's the number 9 Lay Rays. 5.5 is probably too short, but Flavian, like you said on the last race, he knows how to put them in the right spot. Might get this one involved a little bit early, and she's going to be the one that probably has the best closing kick coming out of those longer races. And the weird thing about 5.5 races at Laurel is they have that second wire finish, so there's a little bit more time in the stretch to get up. So the 3 would be like the horse that I think is the most likely winner, best value at the price, but I could use the 8 and 9 as well. And then the 5 would be a distant backup, just in case all of my opinions are right elsewhere.
That's a good look on a 9. Lots of class to her, really. If you look at those races back at Saratoga, she's facing dynamic pricing, Rakia, Proctor Street. Look at Deep Satin, Heredia, all very, very nice, legitimate horses that are better than most of these horses. I mean, she's got a ton of class to her. And you're right. Maybe 5.5 is too short, but you get Pratt, you get a race that could heat up here, especially if the 5 and 8 go at it. She's going to be making a late run. So even for underneath exotic type plays, I mean, and Clement off the layoff too, they always seem to come to play. He's 21% off 180 days. So definitely one I think I will add to my tickets on your recommendation. And I do think that she's got a lot of class to her. If this is the right spot with this distance, and she's ready, she is a very interesting addition, I think, to this pick 5 on Friday. Let's go to race 12, and it's the Pimlico Special Mile 3/16. So a rare Mile 3/16 race at Laurel. Get some clues in this race. And we have the horse that won it last year at Pimlico, Awesome Aaron, showing up. And he was in great form last year. He sort of went off form since that race, but he's back in this spot. I can't resist Yo Daddy in here, Michael. I'm curious to see what your thoughts of him is, because he's been very good, and he galloped in that 1.25 mile race, even though, he didn't have much of it. It wasn't a fast pace, but maybe the distance suits.
Yeah, I think this is a race where there's one of a bunch of ways to go in this spot. And really everybody except the number 5, I think, has a chance to win. But in this spot, when I feel like most players will be spreading, and I understand the urge to do so, I'm going to get skinny and actually like the number 3 San Siro. So I'll make him a lone A and pretty much most of my money through if I'm playing this pick 5 through that horse. He proved he can handle the distance last time. Same distance in the Ben Ally. Finished third, and he was behind Batten Down and Stars and Stripes. So those two would be the favorite in this spot. And he was able to close and then actually finished best on the gallop out at this 9.5 furlong. So I know he's going to get the distance. He hadn't won in a couple starts, but I think this is a good spot as any to get a graded stakes win for him. He was in the same race as Awesome Aaron. You mentioned how he won the race last year, but I agree. I don't think he's coming into this race in as good a form as he was last year, and he kind of faded down the stretch of the Ben Ally. And so like there's other ones that can win. Like you talked about Yo Daddy, I think Navajo Warrior, Duke of Duval, the 2 and 6, and even McLean's Rook, the number 1 could win. But instead of trying to spread all across all those, I'm just going to hone in on number 3 and hope I'm right.
What's your take on Navajo Warrior? Because that race last time I thought Gulfstream was very good. And he tracked down Gosker. He looked like a good thing in that spot. I'm just curious the distance for him. This is a step up in class. Also, Again, Pratt shows up here. Lasix comes off. If he reproduces the last race, I think he fits, but there's a lot of question marks on him.
Yeah, Pratt being on isn't going to help the price, and I agree with you that it's a step up in class. And generally, I don't think he's going to be anything too big of a number. So generally, I would probably try to fade or stepping up in class at a short price. So I mean, this is a situation where I don't have a high probability of getting through it if I'm going to single probably what's going to be a 6-1 shot, but it's going to give me a lot of value if I'm right and I'm able to get everything else home elsewhere.
Jump to the last, Black-Eyed Susan Stakes, grade 2, a mile and an eighth, straight 3-year-old fillies here, and a really nice addition of this. You have 10 horses signed up, and I like a horse in here. I'm curious to see where you go first, though. This is a lot of horses coming out of some interesting spots, and the horses that didn't really make the Oaks. You have some allowance horses stepping in here, some listed stakes types. This is a grade 2 race. I do think that everyone's trying very hard to get that black type. Who you like?
Yeah, I think my main opinion here is to just toss all the runners that come out of the local prep, the Weber City Miss. It was won by a 26-1 shot, who was the number 2 in this spot, Ivy Girl. And that figure came back pretty light. And probably the more important point is the fact that all of the horses who are coming back in this spot benefited from that race where the pace kind of collapsed. They were all in the back half of the field, and were able to benefit from that hot pace to finish in the top half of the field, not too dissimilar from what happened in the Kentucky Derby. So in my mind, this is really a 2-horse race. I went to the one who might be the longer price of the two, the number 10, My Miss Mo. I think she's the speed of the speed. She scratched out of the Kentucky Oaks. This is a much better spot for her. She was last seen when she lost to Prom Queen at Gulfstream, and that horse came back to run pretty well in the Kentucky Oaks with a relatively troubled trip. And 2 back, she finished ahead of On Time Girl, who won the 8 bells on the Oaks undercard. So I think she appears to have been working well coming out of the skipping of the Kentucky Oaks. So I like her the best, and then I think the other horse would be the number 5, Breakin' Papa. It's kind of interesting that I would have a Louisiana bred and a Florida bred on as the only 2 horses I think that can win this race, but here we are. The only way I don't think one of them wins is if they get caught up in a speed duel with each other, but I don't see that happening given the fact that they're both going further in distance, and the rider's probably going to be conscious of that and not want to get caught up in a speed duel. So I can see one letting the other go or vice versa, and I think that can set it up for maybe a little bit a merry-go-round situation where they're just 10-5, 5-10 around the track.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. That's my two in here. I went to my Miss Mo also. I agree with you. I see exactly what you saw, and I do think that she's going to get the right trip, and she's just faster than these horses. I agree to toss all the horses out of the local prep, and I don't want any of them coming back in here. And the 5 is a little bit of a tricky read, but the numbers are there. This is I think the right spot for this one. That has to come off Lasix, and that is something that is not, something that you don't have to consider, but they're in here, and she's going to have to face some tougher competition, but she fits. She fits on numbers. She fits on speed. So we'll see what happens with her. You get Jose Ortiz back, definitely familiar, and those are the two I want. Now, I would probably be heavy my Miss Mo. I think that she's probably the best, and she doesn't have to answer as many questions. She does have to deal with the outside post, though. So that's also something that she's going to have to deal with. But I like her, and I'll try breaking popping on the one for the B spot. So I think it's the 10 and maybe a little 5 to finish up the pick 5 at Laurel on Friday. Well, hopefully we built some bankrolls for Saturday. A couple spot plays, though, Michael, I think you have early on the card. If people are interested to maybe jump in early, who'd you like?
Yeah, I think in the third race, it's a allowance optional going 2 turns. I like the number 7 Statesman. So the number 7 Statesman in the third race on Friday. Shug McGahee hasn't won in a while, but I think this is the right spot to get back on track. You're probably going to get a decent price with the presence of Lonesome Road in the race, who's probably going to be a pretty heavy favorite. I don't necessarily need that one. I think Statesman can win a generous number. And then in the 6th race, I like the number 9 Resort, who is first time for Michael Trombetta. This is a 2-turn route made in special weight, claimed off of Todd Pletcher, and it's really seemed like the Trombetta barn has pointed her to this spot. Was the beaten favorite in the last 2 races, and I think now in maybe new surroundings, a new set of opponents, kind of similar to what I talked about earlier in the podcast, where I'm jumping on the bandwagon when everybody jumped off. So I think you can get a nice, decent price on the number 9 Resort in the 6th race at Laurel on Friday.
Well, both good looks, and hopefully we can get both of those home, get some money for that late pick 5 on Friday. But Michael, can't let you leave without a Preakness thought. 14 horses, no Derby winner, but you have a few coming back from the Derby. What's your thoughts on the pace scenario and who you like?
Well, I think the pace scenario is what it is. I think there's a lot of speed in the race, but I think the jockeys know that there's a lot of speed in the race too. And I think that there's one of the speeds is the best horse in the race and could prove that out on Saturday. I think the number 10 Napoleon Solo is going to be your Preakness winner. Okay. There's really only one race. I mean, you're going to get somewhere around 6 to 8 to 1 on the horse who has the best single line of form in the field, kind of by far, with his grade 1 Champagne. And you can make excuses for his 2 starts as a 3-year-old so far, coming back in the Fountain of Youth, going 2 turns right off the bench. Didn't seem like he was fully cranked up for that. Didn't get a great trip. And then the Wood Memorial, that pace kind of came apart. There's been some reporting that he wasn't necessarily 100% for that race either. And he seems to have been working a little bit better coming into this one. And when you can get 8 to 1 on a horse who has the only piece of form that really you think could win this race, that's something you got to take. So I like Napoleon Solo. I think he's going to win the Preakness.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's sort of he's a volatile horse. Like, either people love him or people don't like him at all. So, and I do think that maybe that might be kind of where he fits in the race. Either he wins or he finds a way to cave, and you won't see him anywhere. So, definitely curious to see how the pace shapes. Taj Mahal, I think, is the key to the race, because last time he kind of ran off early, and if he runs off again, then he's gonna make Napoleon Solo work. Those two are probably going to crash out, and it's going to be a Derby kind of situation where a lot of these horses are going to get tired chasing those two, and then maybe it sets up for closers, and that's when you have the Osellis and the Talkins and the Incredibles coming and picking everybody up. So definitely interesting Preakness to be sure. Michael giving you a price, Napoleon Solo. I think it's an interesting idea. I'd be curious though, what kind of price you think you get, because I know you think 6-8 to 1, but these Triple Crown boards sometimes can be very crazy. It's hard to know what the win prices are going to be sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just so many ways to go in the race. I don't see anybody really going below 4 to 1 or so. And I could see, I mean, I honestly could see anything between 6 and 10 to 1, him going off. I think he's probably 20% to win the race. So any of those numbers I'd gladly take.
Yeah, well, I always appreciate you. Glad to catch up with you finally. Congratulations, obviously, on your awesome KDBC. We always love to see you guys, especially all the In the Money fam, doing extremely well. And, that score was great. We're always rooting for you. So thanks for coming in, and hope to talk to you soon. I know Colonial's coming, so we'll be seeing a lot of you lately.
Yeah, expanded meet this year. Thanks so much. Good luck, everybody.
This has been a production of In the Money Media. Jump into Laurel Park Preakness Friday. There'll be plenty of other shows on the network. Get in on the Preakness. We'll see you next time.